What does loyalty earn you after a quarter century of devotion? I stood in the sleek conference room of Franklin and Associates, the Boston skyline glinting through floor-to-ceiling windows, and felt the weight of that question settle like frost. At 45, Ellie Thompson, had sculpted a career as Senior Director of Client Relations, believing my work was woven into the firm's very foundation. But today, Dominic Hayes, the newly minted managing partner, sat across the polished mahogany table, his eyes cool and unyielding, ready to unravel everything I'd built. His words were about to change my life, and I had no inkling of the storm they would unleash. The meeting began with a clinical precision that chilled me. Dominic, his suit crisp and his demeanor polished, leaned forward, hands clasped. Ellie, we're overhauling client relations. Today will be your final day. The statement hung in the air, sharp and unapologetic. Beside him, Janice from HR shifted, her attempt at a sympathetic smile faltering. My pulse quickened, but my voice emerged steady, honed by years of navigating high-stakes conversations. Was this Arthur's decision, I asked? Invoking Arthur Franklin, the founder who'd hired me 25 years ago. Dominic's jaw tightened, a flicker of unease betraying his composure. All partners were consulted. He replied, his vagueness deliberate. Arthur had been in London for weeks, spearheading our European expansion. I doubted he'd signed off on this. Dominic slid a manila folder toward me, its edges pristine against the table's gleam. This is a business decision, not personal, he said. The phrase rehearsed. The severance package includes 2 months' salary and benefits through the quarter. Janice nodded, her eyes fixed on the folder, avoiding mine. The restructuring affects multiple departments, she added, her tone aiming for reassurance but landing hollow. It's not about your performance. But how could it not be? I'd shaped client relations into the firm's cornerstone, managing accounts worth over $10 million annually. At 45, my salary reflected that expertise, but so did my results client retention rates that outpaced competitors. Was that the issue? A cost too high for Dominic's efficiency charts? I sat back, the leather chair creaking softly, and let the reality sink in. After 25 years, I was being discarded. My contributions reduced to a line item, best wishes for your next chapter. Dominic added, his smile as warm as a winter gust. Security will assist with your belongings, standard procedure. The irony stung. I'd drafted those procedures a decade ago, never imagining they'd apply to me. At my desk, a young security guard hovered, his discomfort palpable as I packed. A photo from a charity gala with Catherine Winters, our biggest client, went into the box. Alongside a crystal paperweight from my 20th anniversary, my phone buzzed. Catherine's name flashed. Ellie, heard about changes at F&A. Quarterly review next week. Call me. My gaze drifted to Dominic's glass-walled office, where he was already on the phone, likely spinning the narrative. He didn't grasp what he'd severed trust, built over decades, that couldn't be reassigned like a spreadsheet. As the elevator descended, the guard silent beside me, I felt the weight of 25 years' meetings, late nights, client triumphs slipping away, but a spark of clarity flickered. Franklin and Associates wasn't just a firm. It was a network of relationships I'd nurtured. Dominic's restructuring had cut me loose, but he'd underestimated the ripples. Catherine's message was the first wave. I stepped into the Boston chiller, box in hand, and sensed the tide turning. The firm thought they'd streamlined their future. They were about to learn what they'd lost. In 1998, Franklin and Associates was a scrappy outfit on half a floor of a Back Bay brownstone, with 17 clients and a founder brimming with vision, Arthur Franklin. Then 42, hired me, a 20-year-old fresh from college, because he saw hunger in my eyes. Business runs on numbers. Ellie, he told me over coffee, his British accent crisp. But relationships are its soul. That creed became my compass. While others chased billable hours or corner offices, I built trust, remembering clients' anniversaries, their children's graduations, and their strategic quirks. By my 20th anniversary, Arthur called me the architect of our success, crediting my work for transforming the firm into a $50 million consultancy. That was before the shift began. 2 years ago, external investors arrived, their sights on rapid growth. With them came Dominic Hayes, a Wharton grad with slick slides and a mantra of maximum value extraction. His arrival marked a fracture. Employee turnover spiked 40%. The open plan office buzzing with unease. I watched our client-first ethos erode, replaced by Dominic's obsession with performance metrics. In executive meetings, I flagged a 15% dip in client retention, urging a return to personalized service. Dominic's response was a curt dismissal. The market's evolving. Ellie, legacy processes are holding us back. Legacy. The word stung. A subtle jab at my 25 years of institutional knowledge. I should have seen the signs earlier. 6 months ago, I noticed my exclusion from key strategy sessions. Emails looped out junior staff instead of me. And Melissa Bennett, a brash newcomer, was assigned to accounts I'd managed for a decade. My portfolio, including Catherine Winter's $4 million account, drove 60% of our revenue, yet Dominic sidelined me. His efficiency models blind to the human element. Last week, I overheard him on a call, his voice low but cutting. Restructuring trims the legacy fat. Retirement plans like hers cost millions. The words landed like a blade. I wasn't nearing retirement. But to Dominic, my experience was a liability, not an asset. Back in 1998, Arthur's vision had been clear outshine competitors by prioritizing clients over profit margins. I'd embodied that, tailoring strategies to each client's needs, detailed reports for some, big picture summaries for others. My desk held relics of that era thank you notes, a framed photo from a client's merger celebration, but Dominic's regime valued dashboards over handshakes. As I sat in my apartment 3 days after my firing, those memories clashed with the present. My phone glowed with notifications, clients reaching out. Unaware of Dominic's misstep, I'd believed loyalty shielded me, that my $10 million portfolio was armor. I was wrong. But as I scanned another message from a client, I realized the firm's error ran deeper. They'd cut me. But the relationships I'd built weren't theirs to reassign. Arthur's words echoed. Relationships were the soul. Dominic had gambled on numbers. And I was about to see how poorly he'd calculated. 3 days after my unceremonious exit from Franklin and Associates, my Boston apartment felt like a command center under siege. My laptop glowed with job board tabs, each a reminder of the career I'd thought unassailable. While my phone buzzed with a cadence that refused to relent, notifications piled up LinkedIn connections, former colleagues' texts, and, most strikingly, clients. Catherine Douglas from Archer Pharmaceuticals sent a terse email. Ellie, is it true you're gone? We need to talk. Belinda at Summit Financial followed, her message laced with concern. Heard unsettling rumors. Call when you can. These weren't outreach efforts I'd initiated. I'd been too disciplined, too raw, to stir the pot. Yet the industry's grapevine was alive, and word of my dismissal was spreading like wildfire across Boston's tight-knit consulting circles. The landline's ring jolted me an anomaly in an era of smartphones. Arthur Franklin's name flashed on the caller ID, a name I hadn't expected so soon. Ellie, I just landed from London, he said, his voice taut with strain. This wasn't my call. I was blindsided. Relief flickered, but anger surged hotter. He hadn't authorized my firing, yet it had happened under his watch. Dominic said all partners agreed. I replied, my tone measured but pointed. Arthur's frustration crackled through the line. They waited until I was buried in EU regulations. The executive committee pushed it as an emergency to boost quarterly numbers. I let his words settle. The sting of my security escort still fresh. 25 years. Arthur and I got a 10-minute meeting and a guard. I said quietly. His silence was heavy, broken only by a firm, you deserved better. Let me fix this. Come back, Chief Client Officer. Reporting to me. The offer tempted, but Dominic's phrase, legacy fat, echoed. My effectiveness was already undermined in their eyes. Before I could respond, another client message pinged. Westridge Manufacturing's executive team wanted a call. Their tone urgent. I glanced at my phone as Arthur continued, his voice faltering. Dominic reassigned your accounts to Melissa Bennett, including Winter's Healthcare. A dry laugh escaped me. Melissa's abrasive style had clashed spectacularly with Catherine Winter's last year, her blunt presentation alienating a client who valued nuance. Good luck, I muttered, knowing Catherine's loyalty ran deeper than contracts. Arthur's pause told me he sensed the misstep. But he pressed on. How are clients reacting, he asked. I sidestepped, unwilling to fuel his panic yet. They're reaching out, I said simply, letting the implication linger. A courier's knock interrupted my thoughts. The thick envelope bore Catherine Goldstein's name, Boston's premier headhunter. Her handwritten note was direct, Ellie. Words out about F&A. Firms are circling for your client base. Dinner tomorrow. The offers inside outlined roles with salaries dwarfing my old pay, a testament to my network's value. I set the letter down, my mind racing. Dominic's restructuring had assumed clients were tethered to the firm's brand. Not to me, but these messages 5 by noon, 11 by dusk proved otherwise. I hadn't contacted a single client, yet their loyalty was surfacing, unprompted, like a tide pulling away from Franklin's shore. That evening, Catherine Winters called, her voice sharp with efficiency. Ellie, tell me you haven't been let go. I poured coffee, steadying myself. It's true. Catherine, they're calling it restructuring. Her scoff was audible. Nonsense. Melissa Bennett emailed, claiming she's my new manager. She tried lecturing me on my business model last year. I chose my words carefully. Professionalism my shield. The firm believes this serves their clients, I said, pausing. Catherine cut through. We've worked together for 12 years. Ellie, I'd rather follow you. Our contract ends in 60 days. Her trust, unyielding, was a lifeline. As I hung up, I realized the firm's calculus had failed. They'd severed me. But the relationships I'd cultivated were mine, and they were speaking louder than any severance package. The next evening, I sat across from Catherine Goldstein at a Back Bay restaurant, its amber lighting softening the weight of our conversation. She studied me over her glasses, her gaze sharp as she slid a folder across the table. 3 firms want you. Ellie, she said, her voice low but deliberate. 2 are crafting roles just for your client base. The proposals inside stunned me. Salaries nearly double my Franklin and Associates pay. One offering a $300 $1 signing bonus. They're not just buying your skills, Catherine explained, sipping her wine. They're investing in your connections. The irony was rich. The firm had deemed me too costly. Yet competitors saw my network as a goldmine. I kept my expression neutral. But a quiet thrill stirred. Dominic's cost-cutting had opened a door he hadn't anticipated. By noon the next day, industry blogs were buzzing with reports of Franklin and Associates' woes. Client dissatisfaction mounts as key accounts waver. One headline read, My former assistant, Thomas, texted updates Winters stormed out of a meeting. Archer's reviewing options. The firm was unraveling, and I hadn't lifted a finger. Arthur's call came as I skimmed Blackwell Consulting's proposal. Their equity partnership resonating with the client-first ethos I'd once championed. Ellie, meet me at Harvest. 1-0, he urged. His tone edged with urgency. Curiosity outweighed my reluctance. At the restaurant, Arthur's face was drawn, the lines deeper than I remembered. Dominic's obstructing my efforts to bring you back, he admitted. Leaning forward, he's convinced the board your exit is modernization. I sipped my water, letting him stew. And the clients I asked? He shifted uncomfortably. Catherine Winters wants a full executive meeting. 3 smaller accounts have already left. Arthur's pitch came swiftly. Chief Client Officer, Ellie. Better pay. Direct to me, not Dominic. On paper, it was a dream role, but his eyes betrayed fear, not sincerity. What's the real issue? Arthur, I pressed. He hesitated, then confessed. Dominic's rallying partners to forcing my early retirement. If clients keep leaving, he'll use it to oust me. The truth landed heavily. Arthur wasn't saving me. He was saving himself. I leaned back, the clink of cutlery filling the silence. I'm sorry, Arthur, I said, my voice steady. I have meetings with other firms. It's business, not personal. His flinch at Dominic's echoed phrase was almost satisfying, a mirror to my betrayal. Blackwell Consulting's offer lingered in my mind as I left Harvest. Their mid-sized firm, with a $20 million portfolio, echoed Arthur's original vision relationships over metrics. Their equity stake promised influence I'd never had at Franklin and Associates. Despite my $10 million accounts, Thomas texted again. Westridge is shopping for competitors. The firm's collapse was accelerating, and I felt the weight of choice. Blackwell offered a clean slate, a chance to carry my clients to a healthier culture. Yet Franklin and Associates, crumbling under Dominic's hubris, still held the relationships I'd nurtured. I hadn't sought revenge, but the tide was turning in my favor. As I walked through Boston's crisp air, my phone buzzed another client, another crack in the firm's foundation. I didn't need to act. The value I'd built was speaking for itself, and I was ready to shape what came next. The morning after my lunch with Arthur, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. The Boston Business Journal's name flashing across the screen. I steadied myself, sensing a shift in the air. Ellie Thompson speaking. I said, my voice calm despite the pulse in my throat. Jeffrey Hammond, a reporter, cut straight to the point. I'm covering leadership changes at Franklin and Associates. 7 major clients have announced plans to leave, and your name keeps surfacing. Care to comment? 7. The number jolted me. Though I'd spoken to 15 clients since my firing, none explicitly cutting ties. I can't speak to client decisions. I replied, cautious of my severance's non-disparagement clause. Many factors influence consulting partnerships. Jeffrey pressed on, typing audibly. What about the letter from 26 clients demanding Dominic Hayes' removal as managing partner? Shock nearly loosened my grip on the phone. I'm unaware of any letter, I said truthfully, my mind racing. 26 clients, acting in concert. Without my prompting, this was a revolt I hadn't engineered. Arthur's call came an hour later, his voice stripped of its usual polish. Ellie, did you orchestrate this? He demanded, anxiety cracking through. 70% of our clients are threatening to walk. The board's in chaos. Investors want answers. I leaned against my apartment's window. Boston's skyline a distant blur. I haven't contacted a single client. Arthur, I said, letting the truth settle. Maybe they value relationships over cost-cutting. His snap was sharp. This could unravel the firm in weeks. I felt a grim satisfaction. Not in his panic, but in the clarity it brought. What do you want from me? I asked. Come back, he said, with no hesitation. Full equity partner, not just chief client officer. Stabilize this. The offer, once a dream, now felt like a lifeline for him. Not me. I'll have an answer by morning, I told him, glancing at Blackwell Consulting's offer on my desk, its equity partnership gleaming with promise. Sleep eluded me that night, my apartment's silence amplifying every thought. Returning to Franklin and Associates meant navigating a fractured culture, facing executives who'd watched my exit in silence. Blackwell, conversely, offered a fresh canvas, a $25 million firm where my clients could thrive. By dawn, I dialed Catherine Goldstein, her voice bright despite the early hour. I'm taking Blackwell's offer, I said, adding a condition that drew her delighted laugh. At 8:45, I stepped into Franklin and Associates, the receptionist's eyes widening. Ellie, the all-hands meeting. She stammered. Arthur's expecting me, I replied, striding toward the conference room, its glass walls brimming with tension. The room was a pressure cooker partners flown in from Chicago, New York, junior staff lining the walls. Arthur stood at the front, board members flanking him. Dominic's absence conspicuous. My entrance hushed the crowd, relief washing over Arthur's face. Thank you for coming, he began, voice strained. Client concerns have escalated post-staffing changes. His eyes met mine. I'm thrilled to announce Ellie Thompson's return as a full equity partner, leading our new client relations division. Whispers erupted, but Arthur pressed on. The board has also dismissed Dominic Hayes, effective immediately, for misaligning with our client-focused values. The room crackled shock, relief, anticipation. I stepped forward, Thomas's subtle thumbs up steadying me. Thank you, Arthur, I said, pausing as eyes locked on me. I'm grateful for the offer, but I won't be returning. Arthur's face froze. Executives exchanging uneasy glances. I've joined Blackwell Consulting, which, with Horizon Capital, has acquired controlling shares of Franklin and Associates. The room exploded in chatter. Arthur's shock palpable. Transitions begin next week. I continued, voice steady. Blackwell values your client trust and expertise. No layoffs are planned unless efficiency demands it. Arthur approached, voice taut. Ellie, what is this? I met his gaze. It's business. Arthur, Horizon saw an opportunity in your client disruptions. I didn't create this. You did. I exited. My phone buzzing with Catherine Winter's message. Heard. Dinner to discuss Winter's Healthcare's future with Blackwell. The elevator doors closed. And I exhaled. The firm's fate was sealed. Not by my hand, but by their own. 6 months later, Blackwell Franklin Consulting hummed from 2 floors of a downtown Boston skyscraper. Its $60 million portfolio a testament to a seamless integration. I sat in my corner office, reviewing financials showing a 23% revenue surge. With 95% of clients staying through the transition, the 3 who'd wavered had returned, drawn by the stability I'd fostered. Arthur, now a shadow of his former self, had accepted a 3-year advisory role, our interactions coolly professional. His failure to champion me lingered, a quiet scar. Dominic, meanwhile, toiled at a $5 million firm, his name a footnote in Boston's consulting lore. Eclipsed by the chaos he'd ignited, former colleagues trickled in, some anxious, others suddenly effusive, claiming they'd opposed Dominic's cuts. I listened, redirecting them to work, retaining most for their talent, long overlooked. One afternoon, Arthur requested a meeting, his face etched with regret. You planned this, he accused, voice bitter. I slid a folder across the table, his advisory contract. No. Arthur, you forgot that relationships matter more than growth. Blackwell offered you a role, take it or walk. He stared at the paper, then at me. The weight of his choice is clear. It's yours now. He muttered, not mine. I corrected. I shape, not control. You once knew the difference. A soft knock announced Catherine Winters, her tailored suit as sharp as her smile. Impressive quarterly report, she said, settling into a chair. Boston's still buzzing about your elegant pivot. I smiled faintly. It was a market correction, not a coup. She chuckled. Call it what you will. Ellie, relationships are the currency here. Everything else is scaffolding. Her words echoed my truth. Franklin and Associates had mistaken their strength for brand or strategy, blind to the trust I'd cultivated. Their error had launched me into a role I'd earned, not through vengeance, but through the quiet power of my work. As we left for lunch, Boston streets bustling below, I reflected on the past half year. I hadn't chased retribution. I'd simply stood firm, letting my value speak. The Boston Business Journal's headline, Blackwell Acquires. Franklin amid client exodus buried my name in paragraph 15, a fleeting nod to my partnership, yet the shift was seismic. In weeks, I'd risen from discarded to indispensable, steering a merged firm where relationships, not metrics, reigned. Justice hadn't needed my push. It had found its path, proving that true worth, patiently honed, always finds its voice.